All right, everybody, we might as well get things underway, and my name is Matthew Sorley, and I'm really excited today to be talking to you as part of a 7-part series on the mating habits of the aardvark. So I'm really very happy that no aardvark? No aardvark. Oh. Okay, it sounds like there's been a change of plans. No aardvarks. Instead, what we're going to be doing is talking about the Psych program. And I'm going to be giving you a tour of this program so that you at least have some idea about some of the options and things of that nature. But you probably have a ton of questions. The questions have just piling up. So what I want you to do is just now, I want you to just take a moment to think of the most important question that you have and either just make a mental note of it or write that down. And then as we start going through the session, any additional questions that you have, just make a note of them. And then at the end of the session, we'll have some time to try to explore some of those questions. And at least if we can't answer them, then we'll have a chance to be able to refer you to where you can get those answers. Okay? All right, so specifically, what is on the agenda for now? Well, I want to take you through a number of the different psych programs, and I want you to really get a tour of what goes on at first year, at second year, at third year, and for those of you in the honors program, what is happening at fourth year as well. I also want you to talk a little bit about how you can gain experience, because it's not just about what you're doing in class. That is a critically important component of your time here. But some of you also want to be gaining some out-of-classroom experience and try to thinking about some other marketable skills and ways in which you can also start thinking about career planning. So we're going to talk about at least a few of those options. And finally, I want to make sure that you have some idea of some of the resources that are part of your community, because you are psych majors. And as such, you are part of a community. And so you should know who you can talk to if you're trying to map your program or you need some help with X, Y, or Z. Okay? All right. So first off, we have a BA General program. It's often referred to as a 3-year program, 15 credits, although it typically takes students a little bit longer than 3 years to complete. We also have a BA and BSc honors programs, which are 20 credits, often referred to as 4-year programs, but the average time to completion for our honors programs is a little bit over 5 years. So if you're I saw a few of you going, oh, geez, my goodness, yes. Perhaps that takes a wee bit of some of that pressure off. We also have a BA Combined Honors program that's 20 credits. That's commonly referred to as playing a double major, right? Some of you may have decided to go ahead and do that. We also have concentrations that I'm going to go into some detail on in just a little bit. And you can also declare a psych minor, and if you're a psych major, you can also declare a minor in a variety of other disciplines. You pick one, but it's possible that you've got a variety of other things that really are piquing your interest. But first things first. When we're talking about that you are in first year or second year or third year or fourth year, we're not talking about how long it's been since you arrived. We're talking about how many credits you've completed, and we talk about year standing. So if you are a third-year student, you've achieved third-year standing, and it's all based on this credit system. So if you are first-year standing, you've completed fewer than 4 credits. If you're in second year, it's 4 to 8.5, and so on and so forth, all the way up to fourth year if you are in an honors program. And your year standing becomes really important when we're talking about getting into certain courses that may have a year standing requirement. So you have to be a third-year student or a fourth-year student. It becomes really important when considering the requirements in terms of CGPA and a variety of other things, because as we'll see, the GPA requirements increase as you start moving your way through your programs. Okay? All right, so I want to do a quick and dirty comparison between the Psych Honors program and General program, so that 20 credit program and the 15 credit program. And the first thing is that the honors program has a fourth-year capstone experience. So I'm talking about a capstone experience. I'm talking about an opportunity for you to cap off your degree program by demonstrating a variety of the skills that you've acquired and refined along the way. And in our department, you have an opportunity to complete either a thesis, which I'll describe in a bit, or an honors project, which is a really neat, innovative course-type experience to come. You also, if you're in the honors compared to the general, you have to complete a full credit course that I'm going to describe in a little bit that is called Psych 3000. It's research, design, and analysis. It's stats, it's methods, it's really helping to prepare you for some of your fourth-year work. You also, if you're doing a thesis, have to complete a third-year honors seminar, which I'll describe also in a little bit, but it helps to prepare you for conducting a thesis in your fourth year. And if you're hoping to go off to graduate school, so whether we're talking about a research-based or an applied program, you must be in an honors program, right? You can't be in a general, or else you're not going to be able to get in. So you're going to want that honors, either BA or BSc, if you're hoping to do MA and PhD, and then that will make it A-OK. All right. Also with the honors, this requires a higher CGPA requirement. So the grade expectations are a little bit higher for honors compared to general. And if you hope to declare a concentration, you need to be in the honors program. And if you're hoping to be in or take advantage of our co-op option, you need to be in BA honors. Okay? All right, so that's an awful lot of stuff. So now let's start peeling the layer of this, peeling these different layers of the onion here. So first year, right? Overwhelming majority of you here are in first year, having that first year experience. And so you are taking Psych 1001 and then Psych 1002. And this is really the launching point, the foundational experience for everything that comes afterwards. Essentially, you're getting a tour of the discipline, and you're getting some of those, again, foundational concepts, but are also going to help you to make some decisions about which content-related courses you want to take in second year. You have to start one somewhere. It all starts with Psych 1001 and Psych 1002. And for our majors, we have sections that are a little bit smaller than the other sections. In fact, they're capped at 120 students. And they include active learning tutorials. And so some of you are in those sections now. Some are going to be in those sections next term. You don't have to do these sections, but you can. It is an option. You can also take Intro Psych in the larger lectures. You can also take it completely online. And if you're taking Intro Psych completely online, then you are well acquainted with this wonderful man, Bruce Suji. Now also in first year, we want to make sure that you at least have an opportunity to have a nice small class environment where you get to learn a little bit about your peers. You get to meet an instructor. You get to work closely with a particular topic area. You get to work closely with text. You're doing reading. You are engaged in some critical thinking. You're presenting. There's collaborating. There are all sorts of really wonderful things that you're doing. And essentially what you're doing is you're practicing the skills that are associated with success at university and beyond. Again, in a small class environment that's capped at 30. So a number of you have taken advantage of that already. So you are in a first-year seminar, and there are a number of first-year seminars that are psychology-based. For example, psychology and criminal justice, close relationships, stress coping well-being, and there are a great many others. And these are available for our BA students and seem to be quite popular. Also in first year, there are a number of other courses that you're taking, psych electives, and there are a couple of other requirements I'm going to talk about in just a wee bit. So congratulations. A year from now, fast forward, perhaps even a little more, you're headed towards second year. Congratulations. Nice going. Now it's time for stats and methods. Right? Psych 2000, a few of you were making faces. I could tell you were just like, things started to get all scrunched up. Right? Psych 2001, Introduction to Research Methods. Now, in Intro Psych, in Psych 1001, you are learning a little bit about the how of science. And you're learning that the how science is conducted is just as important, and sometimes even more important, than the what, right? The method is just as important, sometimes more important, than the results, right? Well, in Psych 2001, you get to spend 12 weeks delving more deeply into a variety of different research methods, a variety of different ethical considerations, and more. Okay? You also are going to be taking Psych 2002, Introduction to Statistics in Psychology. And again, I can see more faces being made. Yes, and more nodding. Now, a fair amount of anxiety when it comes to statistics courses, right? Keep in mind that the individuals who are teaching these methods and stats courses are aware of that anxiety. They know that many of you are coming in really anxious about the experience. And so in most of these courses, there are, your evaluation is spread across a variety of different assignments. It's not a 50% midterm, 50% final. You typically have a variety of assignments along the way where you have an opportunity, for example, to do statistics, because that's how you learn statistics, is by doing them. You can't just memorize them, right? There's also a fair amount of support available to you in these classes, right? There are a variety of institutional supports, there's tutoring, there's all kinds of different possibilities that your instructors will let you know about when you get there, okay? One little piece of advice that was passed on to me when I was really nervous about taking Psych 2002, because at one point I was an undergrad here as well. And the advice that I was given was, if you can add, if you can subtract, if you can multiply, if you can divide, and if you can take a square root, well, there you go. Those are the overwhelming majority of operations that you're going to be performing in Psych 2002. Okay, so hopefully that takes a wee bit of the pressure off, or at least reduces it somewhat. Now, both of these classes also include online labs, where again, you have an opportunity to really work with the material in a meaningful way and receive feedback on what you're doing, okay? Your 3 standard deviations above the norm. Thanks, love letter from a statistician. Yes, these are the kinds of jokes that the researchers across our labs find to be quite amusing. All right, also in second year, remember in first year, you're getting exposure to a variety of different areas of psychology. Now it's time to start thinking about the areas that interest you the most. Well, we have a second year content course requirement, but the beautiful thing is you get to make a number of different choices along the way. Okay? So for example, choose 0.5 credit, or 1 course, in Human Neuropsychology 1 or Introduction to Cognitive Psychology. So you're going to pick one of those 2 courses. Now, it doesn't mean you can't take both of them. You might decide that you want to take both of them, and then one of them fulfills this requirement, and the other one will serve as one of your psychology elective courses. Okay? Then you choose one of these 2 classes, Introduction to Health Psychology or Organizational Psychology 1. Again, you might choose to take both of them, but to fulfill your second year branching course requirement, you have to take one of them. And then you have a delightful menu of additional courses to fulfill the requirement. So you're going to be taking 2 of Introduction to Social, Forensic Developmental, or Personality. Now, we've had a number of different program reviews, and students have passed on all kinds of feedback. And one of the most positive pieces of feedback that we've received is that students really like having a lot of choice in terms of the courses that they select, right? And this is wonderful. You get to sample in depth a variety of these different areas, and that's absolutely a good thing. All right, so that second year focused on stats, methods, and then completing this particular requirement around those second year courses. And you're going to find that some of these courses interest you more than others, which sets you up quite nicely for your third year experience. Now, certainly what I could do is I could just simply read this list verbatim, but one of the things that I know you all love so much is when you go to a presentation and the instructor just simply reads everything off the slide. And you're thinking to yourself, you know what? If you were just going to read off the slides, you should have just sent me the slides. There was no need for you. Okay, so rather than doing that, I'm going to ask for some help from Chris Motz, and we're going to go through a number of these class titles and see perhaps there's something from this wonderful, delightful menu that piques your interest. Intergroup relations.
Conflict and violence.
Close.
Relationships.
Sport and performance.
Oh, psychology.
Positive.
Psychology.
Human neuro.
Psychology.
AAA. Criminal.
Behavior.
Addiction.
Addiction.
Motivation and.
Emotion.
And you should know that the motivation comes packaged with your tuition, but for a limited time only, the Department of Psychology is throwing the emotion in at no extra charge. Know that. Exceptional.
Children.
Cognitive.
Development.
Social.
Development.
Adolescence. And
oh, you take those slow. Emerging.
Adulthood.
Psychology.
Of women. Clinical.
Psychology.
And mental illness. Issues.
Yes. In personalities.
Perception.
Perception.
Intro to.
Human factors.
Organizational.
Psychology.
Transition to.
A butterfly.
Wouldn't that be nice? But no, it's transition to career. And let's give Chris Motz a wonderful hand. Now, I want to just draw special attention to this particular course, Transition to Career. This is a very innovative course experience. This is a course that has generated a fair amount of buzz. It was developed by one of our organizational psychologists, Janet Mantler. And this is a course that really probes the nature of the transition from school to the world of work. It's very focused on the research, but there are also a lot of applied components to it. There's a lot of self-reflection. There's opportunities for job shadowing, trying to figure out where you fit in terms of your particular career plans. This is an absolutely wonderful course, and so I wanted to mention a few things and really single it out, given its highly innovative nature. Okay, so Psych 3802, transition to, as Chris says, being a butterfly. All right, also third year, Psych 3000, which is a full credit course which takes what you learned in Psych 2001 and Psych 2002, second year methods and statistics, and really kicks it up a notch, right? And really what this is doing is it's helping to prepare you for your fourth year, right? So that you'll be in a better position to conduct a thesis or go into the honors project class, right? So you want to be as prepared as you can be. So you need second year methods and stats and also third year standing. And recall, we're talking about third year standing. It's about a particular number of credits completed along the way. Also in third year, for those of you who are going on to complete a thesis, it's required that you complete a third year honors seminar, okay? Now, the department has a number of different research areas, and there's a seminar each devoted to each of these particular research areas. And some of them you're going to be more interested in than others, okay? So cognitive, developmental, forensic health, organizational, social, and personality psychology. And basically what this is doing is it's helping to prepare you to conduct a thesis. It's a fairly intensive course environment. 1 credit, so it spans the full fall and winter terms. They're not available during the summer, okay? And this involves 3 hours of class, but also 3 hours of lab. So there's 6 hours of your schedule that are going to be devoted to this, led by an instructor, okay? And you're going to be going in depth in terms of the theory of research of one of these particular areas. Now, number of prerequisites that you need to know about. First off, you need third year standing, okay? You also need second year stats and methods. And this is where things get really kind of important, right? your major or your psychology CGPA, so whenever you hear major CGPA, talking about your psych CGPA, of 9.0. Okay, so to get in, you need that B+. Right, so 9 is a B+. Now, keep in mind, if you have an 8.98, you don't get in. If you have an 8.99, you don't get in. The department is very, very clear about that. There's no rounding, there are no exceptions. You have to get that 9, right? Okay, so just be aware of that. And there are also specific second-year prerequisite courses that you have to fulfill. So for example, if you're hoping to get into the forensic seminar, you're going to need second-year forensic psychology, for example. Okay? All right. Now, with the honors seminar, you have to submit an application, typically in the spring before the fall that you'll be starting the seminar. And you're going to be offering a list of choices, ranked. So what's your first choice, what's your second choice, what's your third choice, okay? The higher your major CGPA, the greater your likelihood of getting into the seminar that you want, okay? So that's why another incentive to keep those grades as high as you can, okay? All right, so it's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful experience in helping to prepare you for that fourth year if you're in the thesis pathway. And don't worry, I'll explain about the thesis right now. So congratulations, my goodness, look what you've been doing. You've made it from first year, you got through second year, now third year, now congratulations. You are in fourth year. So you're gonna be doing one of two things. You're gonna be having a capstone experience that is either a thesis or you're going to be in the honors project. Now, the thesis involves generating an original piece of scholarship, an original piece of science. And so you're going to be a member of a lab, you're going to be working directly under the supervision of a faculty supervisor, okay? And you're going to be working on a research project. Each one of these projects, very, very impressive. Right? There's going to involve a literature review where you're going to be summarizing the available research in that particular area, right? In the area of choice. It's going to involve data collection and analysis because you're going to be designing a study, right? You're going to be soliciting participants. You're going to be collecting data. You're going to be crunching the numbers. And you're going to be writing all of this up in a wonderfully impressive document known as an honors thesis. Very impressive. Really caps off your undergraduate career in psychology. But number of prereqs to get in. Psych CGPA, so that major CGPA of 10.0, that's an A-. That's one of the reasons why the honors seminar, that third year honors seminar requirement, is a major CGPA of 9. Because if it's less than that, it's going to be very difficult for you during your third year to get your CGPA up to a 10, right? So that 10, and it's the same thing with this GPA requirement. If you're at a 9.89, you don't get into the thesis, okay? The department is very strict around these CGPA requirements, right? Just so it's known and everyone is treated fairly. That's for the BA students. For those of you who are in the BSc, your CGPA requirement is a 9. It's 9.0, okay? All right, you also need Psych 3000, so that research, design, and analysis course. You need your honors seminar at third year, and you need fourth year standing, okay? Now, one of the most important elements early on is to secure a supervisor. And along the way, you'll be provided with a number of tips for securing that supervisor. Okay? And also, you have to submit an application to the Department of Psychology, typically in the spring, before you're beginning your thesis in the fall. One of the most common questions that emerges is, can I conduct a thesis during the summer? It's extremely rare to do that. This is typically a fall and winter experience, very difficult to find a supervisor who's available during the summer, and it's also very difficult to actually do all of these things in a summer term. Okay, so just be aware of that as you're sort of trying to map out your program. But you might not be doing a thesis. Instead, your capstone experience could be the honors project, which is an absolutely fantastic course experience. This is a pretty innovative course experience. It's actually drawn a lot of attention from a number of other departments on campus who've approached us asking us about how this particular course works. So what this is it's a full credit class. So this runs throughout the year for fall and winter term, and it's also available during the summer. Okay? And regularly scheduled classes. Right? So just as with any one of your other classes, you are going to a class that is typically capped at around 30 students. So this is a nice, relatively small, at least small for psychology, class environment. Okay, the focus here is on active learning exercises and the skills that you've been acquiring and refining throughout your degree program. So there's very much an emphasis on critical thinking and reading, on writing, on presenting, various communication skills, analysis, et cetera, right? And one of the beautiful things about this is that you get to pick the area of psychology that interests you the most, and then all of your assignments throughout that whole course are based on that particular area. That's a wonderful thing, right? Having that level of choice. So think about it as really being such and it's also a very, very wonderfully supportive type environment as well, because you're going to be working with your colleagues in that class, and you become sort of the mini expert on your topic area in that class, right? Really, really neat. Just in terms of breakdown, roughly 60 to 65% of our fourth year students are doing a project, and about 35 to 40% will do a thesis. Okay, so that just sort of gives you an idea of the breakdown. Psych CGPA required to get into the project of 6.0, but before you can graduate from the honors program, you have to get that up to a 6.5. So the department will let you in if you've got the 6, but over that year, you've got to get it up to the 6.5 if you want the piece of paper at the end of this, right? You need Psych 3000. And you need fourth year standing. You don't need an honors seminar, right, in order to do the project. Okay, so you don't need that developmental honors seminar, forensic seminar, that full credit class. No application is required, right? So you just simply register for a section of the honors project as you would be registering for any one of your other courses. Okay? And as I mentioned, fall, winter, and summer registrations are available. And here's a photo of one of our sections of the honors project. Okay? If you are planning to go on to clinical psychology grad programs or a research-based grad program, you're going to want to do the thesis. Right? That is what they're going to be looking for. If you are done your education at the end of the BA honors, or if you're going on to a more applied-based program, in some cases, the honors project will be acceptable. We always say to students that if you are thinking of going on to graduate school, you want to be checking with the programs that you're interested in applying to and making sure you know their requirements before you start making decisions about thesis or project. So if your GPA is high enough and you're debating between thesis or project and you're planning on a particular grad program, make sure you understand those requirements. This all sounds horribly daunting right now, but not to worry. You're going to be having a lot of conversations with people between now and then. And a lot of this will become a lot more clear based on those conversations. Okay? Now, all of our honors project students will be participating in the largest undergraduate research conference in Ontario. It is ours. It's the Psychology Undergraduate Research Event, affectionately known as PURE. Now, at PURE, we typically will have anywhere from 180, 190 students developing a poster about their honors project. We also typically will have our thesis students presenting as well, although for them it is optional. The overwhelming majority of our thesis students, in fact, though, will present at PURE. So they're developing these wonderful professional posters about what they've been doing across the year. And you'll have other students, you'll have faculty, you'll have members of the university community, you'll have parents and friends and various relatives all kind of milling about. And you'll be standing by your poster and they'll be asking you questions about it. And it is such a wonderful celebration of student achievement. You get to show off. And we get to benefit from that. It's one of those occasions where just about everybody in the room is happy. Okay? How often does that happen? Well, right now, obviously, you're all very, very happy. But then you'll also be happy at Pure. Right? Very, very impressive. Oh, and wait, it's catered. Right? That's important. Yeah, beautiful. And beyond that, it's also full of prizes, lots of prizes. Right? Now, so one of the things that we encourage you to do as you start making your way through the program is you're going to receive announcements about Pure. We encourage you to attend. So maybe this April, when Pure is held, maybe you decide to go and have a look and see what the fourth-year students are up to. Right? A lot of faculty are there. A lot of students are there. Right? A number of administrators are there. Can have some really amazing conversations. Perhaps a few of Carleton's mystery sandwiches. That's always nice. And yes, there typically is cheese. Okay. All right, so that is Pure. Wonderful, wonderful experience. Now, along the way, somewhere along this 4-year journey, there are a few other things that you have to accomplish. The science requirement. Right? So, for students in BA Honors, you must complete 2 credits in this list of disciplines. So, biology, chemistry, etc. Now, not looking for you to be completing hardcore physical science classes that are full of hardcore science majors. So you're not going to be cutting up frogs. You're not going to be getting out the Bunsen burner and doing things like that. Talking about science courses typically designed for non-science majors. Okay? Now you might say, wait a minute, why are you asking us to do this? Right? You might have zero interest in those types of courses. Well, part of university education is sampling a variety of different areas. Right? That is important. We want you to be at least somewhat well-rounded. Okay? That's important. So, one of the things I did is I went to our undergrad office and I said, could you please give me a list of the most popular courses that psych students will use to fulfill this science requirement? Here's the list that they gave me. Biology 1902 and 2903. These are a couple of natural history courses. When I was an undergrad, I took biology 1902, natural history, and absolutely wonderful course. Wonderfully visual. There's a charismatic instructor by the name of Michael Runtz. I think he's still teaching the course. If you're like, yep, absolutely wonderful storyteller. So that is very, very popular among psych students. And then there's a second course, 2903. There are also a number of earth science courses. There's an oceanography course, there's a natural disasters course, a climate change course. Very popular in terms of fulfilling that requirement, right? So there's a little bit of everything there. And also a number of neuroscience courses, and they've got really a very tasty menu of classes that might pique your interest. So have a look. They really couldn't settle on which were the most popular. There was really just a bunch of them. And then also there's an ancient technology course. I'm not saying that it's an ancient course, as in the course has been along since ancient times, or it's been around for a very long time. It is a course actually about ancient technology, right? Just so that's absolutely clear. 2305. A variety of other courses as well that you'll come across along the way. But the key is that these courses are typically designed with non-science students in mind. Okay? All right, so science requirement. Sometimes students will try to pick, maybe a half credit that they'll do in first year and then maybe a half credit in second year. Some students will try to get all of it out of the way in those first couple of years. Whatever works for you. There's no rush to complete this requirement in your first year or even your first couple of years, right? Okay. You also, if you are in the BA honors, you have a breadth requirement, okay? And if you're in BA general, you also have a breadth requirement. BSc, you do not have this particular breadth requirement. Okay, so here's what you have to do, is you have to take 3.0 credits in total with 1 credit each from 3 of the following. From culture and communication, humanities, science, and then also social sciences. Now, in reality, so remember you have to get 1 credit from 3 of these 4. Your psych is going to take care of this one. So you're not going to have to worry about this. You likely will have a series of other non-psych elective courses that are social science based anyway, but at least the psych takes care of the social sciences. The science requirement takes care of this, right? So you're not going to have to worry about being strategic and try, I have to fulfill my science breadth requirement. Well, your science requirement that we just talked about, it will take care of this. So then what you have to do is you have to come up with 1 credit in one of these 2 areas, culture and communication or humanities. And the various subject areas that are associated with or belong to each of these 2 categories, there's a link on our departmental website to that. Okay? Okay, now, beautiful thing about this is you don't have to have this completed in your first year or even your second year or even your third year. As long as you have it completed by the time you graduate, then Bob's your uncle, everything is good and right with the world. All right, so that is the BA breadth requirement. Now you're going to be exposed to such a really wide variety of different areas of research. You're going to find that some of those areas pique your interest more than others. Right? It can be difficult to make that decision. But for some of you, you're going to decide, you know what, definitely, I'm really into forensic, or I'm really into cognitive, I'm really into developmental. Well, it's possible for you to declare a concentration in one of these areas. Okay? And there's a concentration available in each one of the departmental research areas. And if you complete the concentration, you satisfy the requirements, you get a formal designation on your degree. So it will actually say concentration in forensic psychology. That's actually on the piece of paper. Right? Kind of neat, right? Now, what this suggests, what this indicates, is that you have completed a number of courses that are thematically linked. Okay? This can also be quite useful when it comes time to try to decide which courses you want to take. Because if you're interested in forensic psychology, you just need to look at the forensic concentration, and it essentially lists all of the courses that have a forensic leaning. Okay? That can be very valuable at registration time. So let me take a look then at a sample concentration. This one in health. So every concentration is 3.5 credits, and each of them will start with some second year content requirement. So this assumes you've taken intro, right? Psych 1001, Psych 1002. Now you have to take the second year content course or courses that are associated with that discipline. In this case, for the health psych concentration, you have to take Intro to Health Psychology. Okay? Okay, that's easy enough. Now you have to make 3 credits from the list. Right? So you'll have a fair amount of choice there. So in health, you have to make up 3 credits from, you've got the Health and Illness Honors Seminar, that 3rd year honors seminar that we talked about before. That could be one of those credits. You also have Sport and Performance Psychology. That's my class. Positive Psych, Addiction, Clinical Psychology and Mental Illness. Right? So a fair number of content courses that are possible for you there. Right? Now, you notice that there's some other classes that have an asterisk beside their course code, such as the Practicum, special topics classes, independent study, and the honors thesis and the honors project. So what does that mean? Well, that means that if the topic of your honors thesis or your project work or your practicum, if they are consistent with the theme of the concentration, ding, you can contribute that in partial fulfillment of the requirement. So you can see how somebody might piece this together by, okay, they took sport and performance and they took positive, so that's 1 credit. They did their thesis in health psychology, so that's 2 credits. They took a practicum, that's 2.5. And they also took addiction, 3. Bang, there you go. You've got your concentration. Now, the concentration does not give you preferential access to any of these courses. Okay, just be aware of that. But there's a fair amount of choice in there and a variety of different ways in which you can make this happen. Each of the concentrations on the departmental website is spelled out just like this. One for developmental, one for social, etc. Okay? So don't hesitate to have a look. Now, you don't have to declare a concentration if you don't want to. No onus on you to do that at all, but it's a pretty neat option. Right? And even if you're not declaring a concentration, it can be useful to look at the courses that are in that concentration if you're deciding, you know what, I want to do a little more sampling of developmental, or I want to do a little more sampling of health. Okay, great. Well, there are the courses that are consistent with that area. Right? Again, can be very, very useful come registration time. It can provide a bit of a roadmap when you're trying to figure out what am I going to take. Okay, so there you go. Now, in order to declare a concentration, you must be registered in BA Honors or BSc Honors, right? So this is not available for those with a combined, right? This is not available for those in the general program, okay? Only for our 2 honors programs. Now, you can add your concentration at just about any time, and in fact, a great many of you added a concentration in your applications from high school. That's great. Right, so just by show of hands, how many of you declared a concentration? Okay, great. Now, you can certainly be declaring your concentration really in 2nd year or 3rd year or even in 4th year. We typically, though, do encourage you to be declaring it in 2nd or 3rd year, right? Because then you're not going to be sort of scrambling at the end in 4th year to, oh my goodness, I've got to take like that course and that course and that course, and it's really difficult to kind of fit that in to schedule and your life and everything else that you've got going on, right? So a number of different ways to do that. But you're saying, but Matt, how do I declare that concentration that you speak of? Well, you can head to Carleton Central and you change your program elements, okay? There's a way to do that, right? Whether you can either add a concentration, add a minor, all sorts of things like that. All right, good. So what this also highlights, though, and I'm going to mention this a number of different times, it highlights the importance of academic advising, right? So for example, what I'm doing here is not academic advising, right? I'm merely providing an overview, okay? But we have an undergrad office that I'll be introducing you to in a little bit later that will give you that academic advising experience. Okay? Speaking of experience, okay? Sometimes we want to engage in some learning that takes place outside the classroom. Sometimes you might want to test drive some of the ideas, some of the skills that you've been acquiring and refining at university, and you want to apply them in other contexts. So in the world of work, for example. A number of different ways that you can do that in the department, and a number of different environments that might pique your interest, whether we're talking about government, hospitals, community service organizations, many different possibilities here, many different ways of gaining some experience. And really what you're doing when you are trying to learn outside the classroom is you're trying to cultivate those professional skills, right? There are certain skills that you can work on here, but there are other skills where, all right, you need to supplement your degree program with a little something else. Great. When you are trying to get experience outside of the classroom, you are also typically becoming more meaningfully engaged with the career planning process. Now think about it. when anyone ever buys a car, they'll test drive it first before they decide to buy. That just makes sense. I mean, why would you ever buy a car without test driving it? The same thing applies to a career. Why would you select a career without test driving elements of it first? Gaining experience helps you to do that, right? Okay, now, number of different ways where you can really work with the program and gain this experience at the same time. One of them is via the Practicum in Community Psychology, which is a third-year course, and it's full of third and fourth-year students. So here, you are engaged in what's called community service learning. They don't like the word volunteering. Right? At a community organization, government, private sector, hospitals, things of that nature. And you are earning course credit along the way. So you'll be with that organization anywhere from 7 to 15 hours per week, okay, for a term. And you earn 0.5 credit. Now, there are a number of academic requirements. I work with all of our Practicum students. And there are a number of things that I ask you to do. I ask you to prepare a Practicum report, for example, where you're detailing what you learned, what your duties were. You're writing about the organization and what they do, what their mandate is, who their clients are, what they're trying to accomplish. You're writing about a series of reflections in terms of satisfying experiences, dissatisfying experiences, how you problem solved, how you dealt with a variety of different situations. You're writing about how the psychology program helped to prepare you for this work experience, or how it failed to prepare you. You get to offer a number of different suggestions about what would have improved this experience for you. And you also get to link this to career. Because for some individuals who go through the Practicum, like Sasha, for example, she said the Practicum provided some exposure into the mental health field and solidified that this is the right path for me. Okay? So her Practicum was at the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario. Other students will have a Practicum and they'll decide, you know what, it was a great experience, but that world, not for me, right? So it could be a research-based Practicum, and they decided, you know what, I want to have a career in research. Then they have a research Practicum, and they might decide, this is awesome, I'm in the right spot, or they might decide, nope, nope, this is not for me. They are test driving. Okay, good. So that is one particular option. It is limited enrollment, but a variety of different organizations available. These organizations have signed up with us, although a great many of our Practicum students will propose placements, right? So they will have organizations in mind that aren't actually on our list. That's awesome when that happens, right? So the Ottawa Carleton School Board, the Ottawa Hospital, Carleton's Career Services, WISE, the RCMP, Vista Centre, Brain Injury Services, Correctional Service Canada, CHEO, and a great many other organizations. And these represent a variety of different research fields. So there are forensic-based placements, developmental health, etc. Okay? Pretty neat. Now, others might choose to try to gain experience via an even more intensive process. Okay? Oh, I should mention with Practicum, there's an application process where you have to apply to gain entrance to the Practicum. That is typically accomplished in the spring for the following fall and winter terms. It's limited enrollment, so you should be aware of that, right? There are the supply of spots does not always meet demand, but we're doing our best. So, more intensive way of gaining experience is via our co-op option. Okay? So with co-op, you are actually working full-time and making money along the way. And yeah, a few of you, big smiles, right? Makes sense. And you must be completing 3 paid work terms. Okay? Now, while you're on these work terms, right, you are doing so via the work-study sequence. So there's specific terms during your program when you're going to be out working full-time. Now, the first work term is typically the summer between third and fourth year or the fall of fourth year. Right? You have some choice if you're in co-op about when you are going to start. Okay? Now, the university and the department don't just simply say, okay, get out there, good luck. Right? They don't do that. There's a fair amount of support along the way. The first element is you complete a non-credit course, right? So it doesn't count towards your degree program, but it's a requirement for co-op, Co-op 1000. And this helps you get ready to start looking for that job. It helps you to learn how to search for a job. It helps you with a variety of different skills to try to manage that transition from school to the workplace, right? Very, very skills intensive course. But you need it in order to get you ready. Keep in mind though, with co-op, it is your responsibility to secure employment. The university does not find you a co-op placement. That is up to you. So this requires a tremendous amount of time, effort, initiative, all good things. Okay? But it's not for everybody. But with co-op, you do gain the skills that you're acquiring in Co-op 1000. You do also get a fair amount of support and access to a database of jobs. Right? And these are jobs with employers who've indicated that they want to work with Carleton co-op students. Ah, an in. That's great. But you still have to go through a selection process with those employers in terms of interviews and things like that. It's not a guarantee. Now, a number of students will decide, you know what, there's nothing in that database that I like. I'm looking for something else. Great. Then maybe you propose something else. Now, we have to look over it just to make sure that it's suitable. Right? But this is still a possibility. A lot of assistance along the way from the co-op office to try to help keep you on track. So for example, if they notice that, wait a minute, you haven't been accessing the database and it doesn't really look like you're searching for a job, then they'll get in there and they'll try to optimally nudge you a little bit and try to figure out, okay, what do we need to talk about to kind of help you, to kind of get you along with this process. Okay? Absolutely fantastic way of gaining experience, a few dollars along the way, working on those skills, right? Those marketable skills that employers are looking for, opportunities to network, right? Wonderful things, but not for everybody. Not only the effort of securing employment, but this adds a year onto your degree program. Because while you are working full-time for those 3 terms, there are limits on the number of classes that you can take, right? So typically you can take 0.5 credit while you're on a work term. That's it, right? So that adds time. So you have to figure out, does that fit with your life, with your situation, and all of these other sorts of things. Okay? So both taken together, the practicum and co-op provide all kinds of different wonderful experiences for you. So in terms of admission and continuation, a number of you will have already indicated co-op when you applied to Carleton. So how many did that? How many of you were in co-op? Okay, a number of you are already in. For those of you who have not declared, there will be an opportunity for you to apply should you choose a little bit down the line. So you need to be in BA Honors. So this is not available for BA General, not available for our BSc students. Your overall and major CGPA must be 9.5. So that's not just your major, your Psych CGPA, but your overall, that's between an A- and a B+. So you gotta have those, gotta get your grades up. And also, before your first work term, you must have completed Stats and Methods and also Co-op 1000. Okay? Variety of other requirements. There are also some fees that are involved with this whole process. Those of you who are in co-op will be contacted by the co-op people at various times along the way to advise you of all of this stuff, right? So that you are kept on track. So they'll let you know about the various deadlines and everything else. Okay? Ordinarily, though, if you're not in co-op and you're hoping to apply, that would typically be done towards the end of your second year. Here we have our first co-op student, Chelsea. She said, completing a co-op placement is a great way to gain hands-on experience in an area you're interested in. Another way to gain experience is to volunteer in a psych lab. We are an experimental psychology program. It is the research that truly is the lifeblood of the institution. So why not gain some additional experience with that research process? Well, volunteering in a psych lab would be a great way to do that. And so there you're going to be working with the faculty member and their honors students, their MA, their PhD students, etc. So you become a member of the lab, and you might be engaged in a variety of different activities with that research process. Okay? Now, one nifty little benefit of this is that you earn co-curricular record credits along the way. CCR is a document that accompanies your transcript at graduation, and it details a variety of out-of-class learning experiences and contributions that you've made to university life. And some activities are CCR eligible, some aren't. Volunteering in a psych lab, as of last year, is eligible for this. All right? Now, how do you do this? Well, there is a website that I'm going to direct you to that provides some information on how you find out about what research is being conducted in the department and how you try to identify a faculty member that you might want to work with and how you go about this particular process. And that website is this: carleton.ca/psychology/experience. That's for information on the practicum, co-op, and volunteering in a psych lab. Okay? So lots of different tidbits of information on there, and we're going to be adding more and more and more as time goes by. We've got a number of different student profiles on there too. We're beefing those up each and every term. Also wanted to mention just some of the resources that you can gain along the way, or that you can access along the way. Oh, I forgot to mention, also in terms of gaining experience, don't forget about that third-year transition to career course, Psych 3802. Just another way, when you're thinking about careers, that's another fantastic course that you should be aware of. You've likely already heard about the Psych Mentors. You might one day decide that you want to be a Psych member, which is a co-curricular record eligible activity as well. So third and fourth year students are matched up with first year psych students, and they are a tremendous resource because they are senior level undergrads who are now where you one day want to be, right? Why not bend their ear? Why not take advantage of that support? Maybe it helps to shrink this place just a little bit. Why not access the people who are part of the community? And these are people who want to talk to you. They are very eager for you to reach out to them, right? They don't want to be lonely throughout the term. They don't want to be just looking at their email. No one's contacting me. Or if they're sitting in their office, I'm sitting in the middle of one big empty. You want to make use of them as a resource. So if you're a first-year student and you would like a mentor, you want to contact this horrible man. Oh, no, there he is, this wonderful man, Chris Motz. Additional information. You want to make sure that you are familiar with what is on the Department of Psychology website. Very easy address to remember. carleton.ca/psychology, right? All kinds of different resources there. You've got course descriptions, program requirements and options, sample layouts. So what does first year look like, second year, third year, right? Sort of combining some of the elements that I've been talking about here, right? For each of the different programs. Research descriptions and videos. So a number of our faculty members have put together brief videos about their research. So if you want to learn more about what's going on, that's a really neat thing to take a look at. Information on experiential learning, which is what I've already talked about at that psychology/experience website. Contact details for every faculty member, for staff members, for advisors, etc. All kinds of news and tips as well. What's going on? We're always promoting student achievement. We're promoting events, etc. So explore, spend some time just poking around on that website. See what you find. If you get one good idea each time you visit, that's a pretty awesome use of your time. What I've been doing here, though, is not academic advising. This is an overview I recommend, we all recommend, Chris, you recommend, correct? Yes, Chris recommends that you make use of our undergraduate office. We have an undergraduate advisor named Joanne. We have an undergraduate assistant named Caitlin. And what they do for a living is they help you navigate through your program. They are the professionals at this. They know every little nook and cranny of this program. And will be able to sit down with you and help you. And I recommend that you go in for academic advising once a year. Okay? Right, so they know about course selection, program requirements, registration questions. They can talk about project and thesis. They can help you if you want to declare a concentration. They can go over your academic audit, which really details your progress through your program, and try to help you figure some of these things out. Today I went to them and I asked them for their number one tip. So what is for Joanne and Caitlin, what is the number one thing that you want me to pass on to psych undergrads? Here it is. Dramatic pause inserted here. Check your Carleton email. Right? You're going to get a lot of email from this fine institution at various times throughout the next several years. Some of it is going to apply to you. Many of the email will not. But anything that comes from the psych department, you really want to pay attention to, because we are making you aware of a great many things. We're making you aware of deadlines that are coming up that may apply to you, of options, of events, of tips, of various things that are happening. And they frequently will tell me stories of students who will be in the office and have found out that they have to come back for an extra year unexpectedly because they weren't aware of a requirement. And they will say to the student, well, we emailed you about this. And the student will say, well, I don't check my Carleton email. And they just go, ah! Don't be that person, right? Check your Carleton email. Chris, could you yell it out loud?
Check your Carleton email?
No, that wasn't very enthusiastic. I asked so little. Okay, academic advising. Also useful to stay in the loop. The department has a Twitter feed and a Facebook page. Now, there isn't much on there at the moment. We're trying to start getting that going again. It's pretty dead at the moment, but this term we're going to be trying to chew out some of the content as soon as we can. Where is this fine undergrad office that I have spoken of for your academic advising? B550 Loeb. Here's the email address, the phone number, and the website. So you don't have to make an appointment for academic advising. You can just show up between the hours of 8:30 and noon and 1 and 4:30. Although don't be the person who shows up at 4:28 on a Friday. No. Okay. So I want to thank you very much for coming this evening and being a part of this. This will be posted to the departmental website shortly, so you can review this as many times as you like. And for those of you who are at home, you can do exactly the same thing. Those of you who are, perhaps you're watching this while you're on the bus, perhaps you are in your dorm, perhaps you might actually be on the toilet. If in fact you are on the toilet, be careful. Okay, so thank you very much. And for those of you who want to hang around, more than happy to try my best to address your questions. Thank you. Thank you.